Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Hashira Half Hour. We're so happy to have you here with us, and we're excited to talk about a couple episodes of Dun 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 today. But first, we would love to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Tokyo Treat. For those of you who don't know what Tokyo Treat is a monthly Japanese snack subscription box featuring exciting and unique flavors straight from Japan. Each box is filled with a variety of full-size Japanese snack items like limited edition Kit Kats, specialty flavored Japanese chips, and occasional Japanese sodas that are only available in Japan for a limited time. Every box comes with a cultural guide booklet containing Japanese cultural information and an explanation of each snack, like the flavor profiles, the ingredients, and any allergen information. And these are really handy for us. We've all been working on our Japanese because we're getting ready to go kind of soon. That being said, none of us are fluent yet, especially with the reading and writing. We're definitely works in progress. So when we're looking at these snacks, it's really helpful to have all of the ingredients and anything that we would need to know in English so that we understand exactly what it is that we're about to eat. I had to make use of that today. I'm a little bit allergic to peanuts, so that would have been hard for me to tell if I hadn't had this handy dandy guide. So thank you, Tokyo Treat.
All right, so every month, Tokyo Treat has a different theme, usually aligning with the season or holiday in Japan, or promoting certain Japanese cultural celebrations. This month's theme is Osaka Snackathon. Known for its vibrant streets and mouth-watering eats, Osaka is a true food lover's paradise. This month we've packed our box full of an exciting lineup of savory and sweet snacks that capture the city's most iconic flavors. Come explore Osaka with us on this month's Snackathon and celebrate the diverse tastes and treats that this amazing city has to offer.
It's been so much fun to get to open these boxes together over the last year and change. So thank you so much, Tokyo Treat, for continuing to have faith in the Hashira Half Hour, and to my friends for having some yummy snacks with me and watching some anime and talking about it. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive in to today's snacks. Give it a go. We'll let you know what our favorites are.
Bro, those squid chips have a grip on me. I will literally be taking a picture of these to find like a Costco size bag. So I will like literally, if I can't find a big bag like that, I will be bringing these home in my suitcase like as a carton. These are so good.
I think Brian liked it.
I think he did. I'm a big fan of white chocolate, but in the States it can often be way too sweet. Like it depends on the like manufacturer and stuff. But as per usual with these treats from Japan, they usually tone down the sweetness a little bit and make the flavor a little bit more nuanced, which was the case here. So both the white chocolate crunch, or whatever it was called, and the Kit Kats, both the white chocolate crunch and the Kit Kats were just like the perfect sweetness. Not too sweet, not too bitter, and I would eat a whole bucket full. I will be filling my suitcase with those two things.
But my favorite for today, I think, is a split. I really liked the wasabi potato chips. I'm a wasabi girl lately. Tokyo Treat. Those wasabi rice crackers also from a few boxes ago have a grip on my heart. And that being said, today's rice crackers were also like incredibly good. I am a rice cracker girl. I'm a wasabi girl. The wasabi flavor with the rice cracker would be chef's kiss. Thank you so much again to Tokyo Treat for sponsoring today's episode of the Hashira Half Hour. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, friends, it is time. Thank you for holding strong and bearing with us while we have continued to have life pummel us from every angle, just like our main characters in Dun 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 Dun. You get it.
Dun 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 dun.
As always, as once every 3 times, I am your host. I am joined, as always, by my friends.
What's up? It's Brian. Sorry, I've been working on school stuff. Reevaluating my career pathing and what I'd like to do with my life. So, consistent, reevaluation of life trajectory. Keep doing it. Keep stepping back, and I'm going to pass to Hannah.
You know, honestly, I think I've done that at least twice a year since I turned 10.
Perfect.
No, your 20s, like every single year in your 20s, in case you're younger and you're listening to us, like under the age of 20, you don't know what you're doing still. Just so you know.
I still don't know what I'm doing.
We're pushing 30 here. And
you should have seen me just trying to put this camera on the tripod today. So we're going to cover episodes 2 and 3. We're going to do a twofer for you today so that we can get caught up. Just kick it off. Episode 2, Episode 1 was obviously kind of crazy. We have learned that our darling little Tanjiro wannabe, our little Okarun, is like fused now with Turbo Baba.
Baba.
Turbo Baba. That's just simply not ideal for him for a number of reasons. One of the first things we discuss in this episode is the form of payment that he had to give to acquire such a state of being.
Bro, so I knew this was going to be the case because my friend and I went to the premiere of the first episode, right? We're like walking out in the hallway and we're surrounded by all these people that were in the panel too. And a lot of the people that were there because they're genuine fans of the manga and super excited. I figured there would be more people there just because of like the voice actors, but no, like those were some hardcore Dandadan fans there. I was like, okay. Anyway, we overheard these like two guys talking and they were like, oh yeah, poor Okarun like never has his balls. So I kind of knew that was coming, but Granny Turbo Granny is an old hag who yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. Please talk over me now.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, as the one on the show with the banana and the peaches, I don't know what the fruit for balls is, but, listen, I think they only said banana was payment. So, I mean, at least there's like half the package there, right? Like, Amazon got half of it right. So, I feel bad for him, of course, but Turbo Granny had to, take her payment. The banana. Oh, banana.
Controlling him and, like, cursing him is not enough, though. She has to take something.
I mean, that seems like it's kind of the thing. Anything. Any curse.
She's taken his freedom. And he's gonna turn into Eren Yeager.
Freedom and his manhood. He's about to start the rumbling.
Oh, no.
So this is an interesting way to start the episode, and even more interesting, her first reaction is not like, oh my gosh, like that's so terrible or whatever. She's like, can I see it?
What would that look like?
He's like, obviously not. He's like, no. You cannot see my dickless balls. Dickless cage.
Oh, God. That just sounds like a kink in the gay community.
Oh, fuck. Normal teenage girl reaction?
I mean, okay, so when I was in high school, some girls asked me, do you look at other guys when they pee in the stall? And I was like, no, not really. But, I was gay, so I was lying, so... So, with that being said, yeah, of course you'd want to look.
You just killed Hannah.
Oh no, Hannah, not the heart grab. You're like an Italian grandma.
Italian mama?
Oh my god.
I'm taking the meatballs.
You know what? On my TikTok the other day, I was trying to emphasize the E in Yorichi, and I accidentally went Yorichi. Now everyone's calling me Italian. Anyway, I mean, yeah, I guess that would be like a normal thing for a high school girl to ask. I don't know. I wasn't in public school though. I was never around boys growing up, so.
What are you gonna do? I, for one, probably would not have wanted to see that at that age. Perhaps now. Like, what would that be like?
True.
No sexuality, just curious. Like, what the fuck would that look like?
That was my first thought. Like, what would that look like, and how does he go to the bathroom?
Which we're gonna talk about. We're getting there because I had some thoughts. So they are at Momo's house, or like part of the property that Momo's family owns, and they're arguing back and forth, but then the doorbell starts to ring, but it's not the regular doorbell, it's the haunted doorbell. And there is a difference.
Because they took the seal off of the barrier.
To let him in, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the only way that Okudun could get in because he's like half possessed now. Momo's trying to figure out how to contain him, but because the seal has been removed, which is like the one thing that Grandma told her not to do, somebody cursed is coming and knocking. And it's not Sukuna. Not yet.
I don't know, if Sukuna showed up, I would also run far, far away if I could, but they can't. I don't know, y'all, the moment that doorbell started ringing and Momo was like, that's not my regular doorbell, that's like, I've never heard it before, I was like, I would stay locked in that bedroom, far, far away, and I would get as underground as possible and try to hide. Not walk to the door, just open it.
No.
I'm not that brave, but yeah, I also just bowed out of going to a haunted house with friends because no thanks.
Oh, I've caked a haunted house employee, like full-blown roundhouse cake.
I don't do horror movies, I don't do haunted houses, I don't do scary. No thank you.
So, the creature that is now knocking at the door does end up making its way in, and it's like a big-ass sumo ghost, which is like, and again, a lot of things about this show are very reminiscent of things that I think that we've seen in other shows before, and so even though this character is different, in some ways, like this introduction and like the presence in the room reminded me a little bit of Demon Slayer, reminded me of Jujutsu Kaisen. What was your first impression of, like, essentially one of the first ghosts we've seen outside of Turbo Grandma and then the aliens?
This is like a classic horror movie trope where the doorbell rings, the walls will ooze, the lights will flicker on and off 5 times, whatever, right? So this is like a classic horror movie trope, and I love that. I think that that's kind of like I don't know if it's an American horror trope, but I think that this is probably going to fall on a lot of horror tropes that I truly love, because I think that there's something ominous about like the doorbell ringing, but you know it's not the right one. I think that adds just a layer of twist that like, you know something's wrong, but you can't discern what, and I think it's the fear of the unknown that is greater than the fear of known.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the scary part was instantly when he like showed himself was 1, he was huge. No thank you. 2, he was like locking them in. And there was just no way out. So like you don't even have the option to run away now. I would have just passed out and hoped that someone would have helped me.
Yeah. It's definitely intimidating, and it's again like one of the first ones that they're taking on. The first one with Okudun's newfound powers and Momo's newfound powers, and obviously it didn't go ideally for them the first time because they just don't really know what they're doing yet. So I feel like we see a bit of that this time as well, but my favorite part of the episode is seeing, you know, Momo tries, and then Okudun's like, I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna try to like save you, or like, I'm gonna fight it, I'm gonna try. And so he lets Turbo Baba kind of like take over a bit, but it's one of the first times we're really seeing and hearing from this fused version. And like, especially the vocal performance here was
Perfect.
it was good. What do you think, Hannah?
I never thought Emily would be the first one to listen to Hanai-san and go,
It's so different than like the Tanjiro voice that we've been hearing.
it was reminiscent of, I guess, when he voices Vanitas. Like a lot more like mischievous and deep. Sultry. Yeah, I like how we got to this point. I think this fight scene overall was just like a really good experience. And then him kind of coming, I think it was, she's still, like Momo's still kind of trying to like use her powers to help, but so that she doesn't completely take him over, but she like took off some of it or something like that, I think is how I understood what was going on. So I'm really excited to see him learn a little bit more in this alter ego, but man, it was pretty great, yo. He just took off her hand, yo. And then he got really depressed.
Yo, Katane.
Yo, Katane.
For his ability to be able to do stuff. Like, finally, he gets his time to shine. I think it's interesting that, like, in this show, the female is the dominant one. Even when a male is getting his moment now, it's based off of her ability to control his fusion spirit. So I think that that's really interesting that they're really like giving Momo the limelight even in the most, or even in an indirect way here, which is cool. Also like that they backed off a little bit on some of the things that we talked about for episode 1 that are, I feel like the issues that we talked about with like women and portrayal of that is definitely different now. So that was a good and positive part of this episode. But as Sumo Man was a badass villain. Like, that fight was crazy. And I think, I'm a guy. I'm a very simple guy. Bing, bang, boom, left, right, good night, as Tom would say. It was a very awesome fight because there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of punches, a lot of kicks, a lot of jumps. Even though the sumo wrestler cheated and his hand hit the ground. But nonetheless, she was still like, I got this.
And that brings up a good point because he seemed almost like impervious or like undefeatable until they realized that he was fighting sumo style, and they're like, that's going to be the goal here. And it's funny to watch like Okudun lose, obviously. He's like, never mind, I can't do it. And like the switch between the two being so fluid is really fun. Maybe we'll see that progress as he like gains a little bit more control over this newfound ability in future episodes. But seeing them work together and team up to take down this like larger than life sumo wrestler ghost, I thought was really cool. But as we transition into normal, the two of them normal kind of, and like their little discussion, we actually, it doesn't last very long because Okudun loses it shortly after Momo like passes out from, I think, overexerting herself in this moment. And we see Turbo Baba take over fully and just kind of like loom ominously. And that's where episode 2 comes to a close.
Yeah, I was really annoyed about that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But I did just want to say, I agreed with what Brian was saying. I think Momo still carried this fight. Even though Okudun like had this transformation, he was only able to hold on to it for a little while. And it was really like, it was his idea to do what they did, but she was still kind of in control. And then the way they won was like all her idea as well. Like she was getting punched multiple times until, the cement thing that was keeping them in went past the Tori gate so that she could put the seal back on, and that got rid of it. And I just like, the whole fight, she was just smarter. She was just like figuring it out and being stronger, and I think that's kind of why she passed out. I think like they both were exerting themselves. I think the first time I watched this, I was literally just like, go to the hospital, go to the hospital. And then she passed out, and I was like, go to the hospital. There's no hospital going yet, but hopefully that will come soon.
If there's one thing we love, it's Tanjiro in the hospital. Aw, poor boy, can't even escape in an alternate universe. It's absolutely true, though. The more that we get into this show, Momo seems to be the main character.
Yeah.
Or have, like, main character energy, and Okudun seems to be, like, supporting, if anything, which is really unique for a shonen. It's, like, very, very uncommon to have such a strong female character in the leading role. Which is, at least for now, the way that it seems. We'll see if that continues.
As we transition to episode 3, I think it's interesting that Turbo Granny is, like, then looming over, because, again, the control is still Momo's, right? She's the one controlling the curse, and because she lost control, now she's in peril. I think that's kind of sucky that, like, and maybe a little bit of an analogy of what it means to be a woman. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you always have to be on point, and if you're not, it's all of a sudden you're in peril. So I think that's a really interesting kind of analogy you can pull out of that. But nonetheless, another woman comes to save the day, and that's our lovely, true, and one and only Granny. Also, I said I was super excited for her, and I didn't realize it was Momo's grandma. But I don't think anyone knew that was Momo's grandma unless you're a manga reader. And she's a baddie. She reminds me of Maki Zenin so much. Like, with the glasses, the tools, all that 9 yards, the slight smirkiness, but also very intelligent, very composed. I love her so much.
See, that's funny, because I was also going to compare her to a JJK character, but What?
Nobita?
No. I was going to say, this is our Gojo.
What?
She's a white-haired baddie.
Oh, true.
She kind of doesn't give a fuck.
Accurate.
And she, like...
Total badass.
I'm like, she's, and like, strong. Like, clearly strong. Big sense of humor. I'm like, this is kind of, I think, our Gojo. This is, like, the sensei kind of character. Yeah. Obviously, big shocker that this was Momo's grandma. And, like, the first appearance was interesting, too, because she's, like, on some TV show doing, like, her... And, like, some of these Japanese, like, specialty entertainment shows are, like, kind of cheesy. It's kind of, like, talk show-esque, like, exactly what you would think of. Very Late Night with the Devil style.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm going to control your mind, and like that's like what we're seeing, and it looks like she's on there with like some idol who I don't think they would have shown us without purpose. So let's see if we come back to that guy. I think he might be important, but I'm not sure why yet. Anyway, total shocker. Obviously, she looks incredible for her age.
Yeah.
And I think she's the Gojo.
Yeah, I definitely was not expecting, like Brian said, like we've all seen this character. I've seen people cosplay her, didn't know who she was yet. I was not expecting her to be Momo's grandma. I didn't know if her grandma was even going to be like a major part of the story, even though she brought her up a lot in the first episode. I didn't know if her grandma was going to be like around still or whatnot. I kind of got the feeling that maybe she wasn't, but I guess she is, and she's a badass, and I think she's manipulating the way she looks because of her abilities so that she looks younger.
Oh yeah.
Personally, I mean, Momo's in high school,
yeah.
So I mean, it could be that just all the generations had kids really young, but it was interesting, and I think I'm going to be a big fan of her.
I think so too.
Oh yeah. I think regular Papa is going to be an interesting one for sure. I definitely love her just approach to things, because as we go through kind of the next steps of the episode, right? So she's, done her psychic show, and now she's coming to set barriers. I was like, what's next? A domain expansion? I was like, what's
Literally.
up? Literally. And I was like, and she's explaining it, and I'm like, this just sounds like JJK, but simpler. Because I was like, something I can understand. Exactly. I'd love to see it. But she starts to set up like the lines and the circles, and I'm like, this is like true witchcraft.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
And the use of the nails here did remind me of Nobara. It's like a few JJK characters like fused together. And then like the supernatural kind of stuff, like the circles, and obviously they're not made of salt in this instance, but they're superimposed by her, and they are able to keep Turbo Baba and Okunun in line, literally. It's not looking good for him at this moment, and Momo's passed out. Kind of looks like he might be toast.
He seems to be fine after some badassery from Grandma, because she draws a couple lines, she does a couple circles, does a little bit of arts and crafts in the sand, and then all of a sudden Turbo Granny is like down for the count, because there was something with the nail, how if Turbo Granny crossed the line she would die, and Turbo Granny was like, if I die the kid will die too, and she was like, you think I care? But nonetheless, regular Granny still tries to save, and does end up saving Okarun. So that was kind of cool that like she was still empathetic enough and kind enough to save someone, because a lot of people may not have done that, especially in that line of work where they're like, tough.
Yeah, she's clearly been doing this a while, just based off of the way she looked when she got like up super close to Turbo Granny. She was just like, and we find out later, like, she knows that Turbo Granny is like a big deal of a ghost. So she's definitely been doing this for a while. She definitely knows what she's doing, and very glad that she chose to save Okarun. Obviously, like, we knew she was going to.
Yeah.
Because that would be, what a twist, actually, is he dies in the third episode.
And I'm probably going to have to give this shout out every episode. I didn't think Turbo Granny was going to be this relevant past the first episode, to be honest. And I thought we were just getting like a very brief vocal performance cameo here, but it's so damn funny to hear Luffy like cursing out another grandma.
I just think it's so funny that it's like you've got Tanjiro and Luffy
in one. In one. But Luffy's a crude old woman, which is not totally out of character. No, actually it is, but it's the same voice. It's the same voice, and it's very, very goofy to hear it when at least I'm watching One Piece at the same time, and it's like, oh, they sound the same when they're getting their ass whooped, no matter what. Anyway, we move on. We're not entirely sure what's happened to Okarun just yet, but Momo wakes up in a cold sweat. It's like, whoa, what just happened? Goes downstairs. Grandma's been there, and she's like, what happened to Okarun? She's like, why don't you go check the shrine? And then we have like this classic comedic moment of, no, Okarun, rest in peace. I'm so sorry that this happened. Throw the door open. He's like chowing down. Never mind.
Classic. Also, love that he's eating the
Onigiri.
Yeah, onigiri. I wanted to double check in my brain that was the right word. Thank you. But he's eating the onigiri, and all of a sudden, he's like, "What? Now that I'm alive, you're upset?" And that was just downright hilarious.
She seems so like, oh god, and then he's like, I asked this sound, and then she shuts it again. He's like, I don't understand.
And then Turbo Baba's hanging out outside the shrine. It's like, my granddaughter's in love. I guess that means that I will have to train you instead of just killing him. And then she's like, okay, Okudun, start right now. Literally, you gotta do like 50 crunches, 50 sit-ups, 55 burgers, 55 fries. You gotta do all of this, and Momo will start tomorrow. And so she's going to help train up her granddaughter, who has apologized and agrees that she now believes in spiritual entities, and physically train Okudun so that he can just literally like carry her on his back so they can run really fast, because they have to get Turbo Baba outside of like her domain, which is like a geographic area, because once they do that, will be significantly weakened. But that means they've got to be fast. They got to go fast.
Training arc? I think it's so funny because like Okudun is truly like just this scrawny nerd. It's like, oh yeah, there's a reason you're starting training now. It's because you have a lot more work. He's just like, I can't do that. It's so funny. I did like the lore of how the powers work. I felt like that made a lot of sense because she talked about how Turbo Granny, they need to like play a game of tag and get her out of her domain, and then nice grandma, nice Baba is like, oh, I can't be of any help because that'll also be outside of my like area and I won't be able to use my abilities. And I was like, you know what, that like makes sense. There's always like a give or take when it comes to these powers. So interesting. What does that mean for Momo though, is what I'm like a little bit questioning, and excited to see probably how that's going to tie into the story, but we're moving forward.
Yeah, it seems like Momo doesn't have that same ability because her powers came in space. So, aliens, right? So with that being said, it's interesting to kind of see how that goes. Hannah's like training arc, they said it's a no for me, dog. Because guess what? Turbo Baba's like, you had to take a shit. Well, guess what? You lost concentration. And now, here was what we got. Your grandma is about to die. She's choosing the way she wants to die. Same thing with this guy. Unless you come tonight out here in Modesto, California on December 24th, Shinjuku Showdown style. Like,
That's right, good night.
Exactly. She literally gave them the ultimatum. She's like, you want to do this? Fine, we'll do it tonight. And so that was crazy. Like, all of a sudden, like, most of these animes will do a training arc, or will have some sort of, like, interim or filler, and, some of the people that I work with were talking about this, and they're like, every time you think you know where it's going, they're going to flip it sideways.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really cool that, with this being said, it's like, it's already subverting your expectations in the sense that we're not sure where this is going, because you can't really predict the next episode or where, we're going to pick up in that next episode, because they've already done that so far.
Yeah, each episode has completely thrown off my opinion on where it's gonna go, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And the way that they are able to combine humor and the paranormal and like the scary is really well done, especially in this episode, because this like toilet scene is so goofy. First of all, how is he gonna go pee unless pee comes from the balls? That's what I was saying.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. Where is it coming from?
But then they kept like changing, like, does he need to pee? Does he need to poop? Poop is still okay. Very embarrassing to have to let like your teen crush watch you take a fat shit, honestly. But there are worse things, as evidenced by the show. However, like, this really funny scene is like intercut with all of a sudden like time freezes for everybody except for Momo. Everybody's noses and ears are bleeding, and she's like, Turbo Baba is like, I'm gonna kill everybody and everything that you hold dear if you don't show the fuck up tonight. Thanks, Luffy. Here I come.
So here we go. We're on our way.
Kaizo Kuloni. It's really well done, and they're gonna go. They do take off, fully dressed in their spiritual garb. outfits start on the bike, also intercut with some funny scenes where they're now on the train and everyone's looking at them all weird.
Welcome to a day in the life of a cosplayer in public.
A. And we'll just have to see, A, if the outfits help, B, if they can take it on, C, can Momo and Okurun contain everything, and how is that even going to work, knowing that Okurun's already kind of got Turbo Baba with him? And how's that going to work when Turbo Baba is, like, back in her domain that is, like, this tunnel that she's now fused with that is also cursed? I wasn't expecting them to go back so soon, but we will have to see what happens in next week's episode.
It's exciting to know where it's going to go, because I thought we were going to get a training arc, and I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, haha, you thought.
This is the training arc.
This is the training arc. We might die. Cool. Maybe go to a hospital.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, she got a little bit of a training arc. She learned how to, or kind of learned how to use, like, her senses and stuff like that. So she picked up one thing. Will one thing be enough? Stay tuned for next week's episode of the Hashira Half Hour, in which we find out, is closing your eyes and hoping for the best the only way to cope with things? Yes, it is. I do it on a daily basis.
It's called adulting.
Woo! All right, guys. I think that's about the time that we have for today. Should we discuss our favorite moments from the episodes real quick? I'll go first. I really liked Mr. Tanjiro's voice acting, Mr. Hane in episode 2, but both of these... I'm sorry. But it was really cool because it's so different than anything else I've heard him in. Hannah's heard more, so I'll let her take it over from there, and I'll give an honorable mention to distract from the fact that we have the same favorite moment. Second favorite is probably the, let me think. Honestly, it's probably Luffy's voice actor, too. I liked it when he was cursing out the Gojo grandma. He's like, you old hag. She's like, you're gonna call me a hag? And it's Luffy's voice getting his ass kicked, and I loved that for me.
I'm going to say that my favorite moment was the sumo fight scene. That was just so cool. The way that they animated it and the way it ended was very smart, very cool. I loved all of the animation pieces to it. I think this is a very interesting anime as far as how the world works and how the powers work, so I definitely think the fight scenes are what's grabbing my attention at the moment.
All good things. I will steal her. She's taking my answer. Everyone knows when I get the opportunity to shout out Hanai-san, I'm gonna use it. And now Emily's stealing my thunder here. So I'll just say I liked Okarun's, transformation altogether. I liked how it was kind of a team aspect. Like Momo was still a huge part of it, and she still carried that fight even with his transformation. I liked just the character design of what he looks like when he's in that different form is really interesting. And yeah, it's just really fun, yo. I really liked it, yo. And I of course, love the voice acting, yo.
Yo.
Hey, yo, it's your boy.
All right, y'all. I think that's all the time we have for today, but thank you so much again for joining us, and thank you again to Tokyo Treat. If you're interested in grabbing your own Tokyo Treat box to have in time for next week's episode of Dun Dun Dun, then just check out the link in our description below. You'll get $5 off of your first box, and we will see you next time. For now, this episode is Dun 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 Dun. All right,
done.